Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Hello. Welcome, wherever you are in the world. Today, we are going to continue with our previous project of Jagatai Con. This is the fellow that we've been working on for the last couple of streams. Just make a quick volume echoes. Test. What's up, Steve? How you doing, buddy? Don't hear echo or anything. So audio gets weird. All right. So this is the dude that we've been working on for a little while. Still got a little bit of a cough, so last couple of streams, we've been working on this guy. This is meant to be a collectible size print of Jagatai Khan from Warhammer 40,000. 30,000. But who's counting? So if you'd like to go back and watch some of the other ones, you can go to ZBrushLive.com. And check out that one. Camera. Cool, that's good. Thanks. So this guy is going to be probably about 8 inches, 8 to 10 to 12 inches tall. So this is a little 20-sided die over here. So that give you kind of a reference of about how big I want to make this guy. So collectible size for sure. Not. So on this stream, we are going to play with the pose. I want to nail down the pose before we start getting into too many more gory details. Last time we started working on fleshing out some of these secondary details on his shoulder guard. That's why he doesn't have one on this side. So once we do that, but I don't really want to go too much further without being settled on the pose. Right now it's okay. It's just kind of okay. It's not crazy awesome. So I want to excuse me. I want to adjust the legs probably. Well, I think what I'm going to try to do is typically what you see is an inverse. You know, if one arm is forward, the other leg is forward, and vice versa. So if this one's back, this one's back. It just gives this kind of like nice contrapposta feel to it. County pasta? County pasta. So we're going to work with changing his legs a little bit and see if we can nail down a pose, because then we can start working on some of the finer secondary detail stuff. So this is what I forgot who did this one, so I have to apologize for not knowing this sculptor, but this is kind of a direction that I want to go. It's kind of more like this goldy, fantastical, crazy awesome. And then we'll get a few hints of his actual 30K model in here, just so that it families well and it's recognizable. So the plan, Stan. But we got to nail down that pose first. Nail the pose. All right. So I was playing with this one coming forward, so we're using the pizza box method so that I can grab all those pieces. So this arm is kind of forward, this arm is back, so we'll try to play with this foot forward, this leg forward, and the other leg back. So we'll have to readjust a bunch of stuff. Let's grab all this. Let's ungrab that stuff. Let's ungrab that stuff. Okay. Just make sure. Okay, yeah, that's his leg. But I don't. The cool thing about using this move is, depending on what subtool you have selected, you can retain the orientation of your widget. Pretty nice. So in this case, this subtool contains the oriented widget for this leg, and this one for this one goes back. So let's see how that feels. Let's grab this guy again. Go back to our pizza boxes. The other thing is that we'll just have to reselect, which is fine. It's not crazy complicated to do. All right, and then we'll just, yeah, that, okay. So we'll see if we can, maybe he's kicking it out a little bit like this. Like he's about to turn, maybe? Could be. All right. So maybe he's kind of planting his foot this way a little bit as he's like walking. So then what I'll need to do is, so let's do for this one. Maybe this one actually. Let's move this one. We're going to move this one as his knee. Put that in there. This is another reason why I, for hard surface stuff in the beginning in this blockout phase, I'll use different subtools. That way, okay, cool. That way I can kind of do this without having to use the pose, the T-mesh pose master. Looks like he's just strolling. Sup, dudes? Sup, bro? Here to wreck face. Hi, I'm here to wreck face. My name's Jagatai. You can call me the Khan. He has his leg kind of. Maybe his all of this kind of needs to rotate back a little bit because his hips are kind of right underneath him. Maybe what we'll do is for this one, we'll do the hips. Okay, so I'm on this subtool now, and then we'll orientate this move widget to be his hips, which is about there. Right, so then now I'll just grab all of this, ungrab that, ungrab that. I actually don't need these guys. I'll grab that. I will grab those guys. You know what? I'm just going to do this just to make sure I have everything in there. I'm going to grab all that and then ungrab stuff. Boop. Boop. Okay. Okay, we got the hand back there. We don't need the hand. Also don't need that stuff. Grab. Okay, I think those are the hips. All right, I'll fix the leg later. Okay, cool. So now I can actually use this to kind of throw the hips back maybe a little bit. Doing the slide. Will the weapon in his hand be non-removable? The sword is going to stay. That's his sword. But I think what I'll do is I will create a different hand for this one. So maybe he has like a flag, you know, instead of this one, or maybe he's pointing would be another good one. And then I'll leave room for different heads as well. But this one, because I want him to be a little bit more stable, I'll probably leave that as his iconic sword touching the ground. And then I'm thinking maybe a second backpack and cape would be cool too. You can either take it off or you can replace it with another one. Maybe like a one of the classic backpacks from Space Marines. Kind of cool. Whee! Alright, that defeats the purpose a little bit of this one being forward and this one being back, so I don't want to push it too far. Okay, so let's do this. Turn that one back on. We're going to go to this dude. Get rid of all of that. Then maybe we can actually push this one forward. Kind of like it kicked out a little bit more, huh? But then you get this like weird X pattern that I don't like too much. So maybe actually this one gets kicked out a little. Kicked out like this a little. That looks like he's toe tapping. Telling you, this is the most roughest part, is trying to get the pose correct. It does look like this hip is a little too far back, which is fine. We can fix that. Now maybe he's actually got coming that way. Or the other thing that we could do too is we can rotate his hips, because right now his hips are kind of square with his chest. So we could try to play rotating the hips a little bit. The full hips. All the hips. Yeah, let's get rid of those guys, get rid of those guys. Get rid of those guys. What's up, Quicks? What kind of 3D printer do you use for your studio? And is there a 3D printer model you could recommend for? Yeah, I actually just got. Looks like you moved to this guy real quick. The Saturn II 8K. Yes. Actually, I just literally this morning, I just finished printing my first major gigantic model. Now, I'm going to show you the size of it and the look, but then I'll show you actual pictures of it. So this is from, this is not my sculpt. This is from Bestiarum Games. In their Patreon, their welcome pack is this model for print. It's all pre-supported and ready to print. But I just finished this guy on the Saturn II 8K, and he is absolutely so cool. But I got him actually finished printing this morning. Really, really excited about it. Yeah, he looks awesome. Let me actually grab the pictures for you while we're talking about it. Hold the phone. Open says me. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So this guy will be on the Saturn II. But I'm excited. I'm very, 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 very excited. We actually just finished up our first sculpt. Well, he's not quite finished, but this was the fine young gentleman that we did a few streams ago. And then this one is going to be the first one that I print of my own. So I got a little bit more work to do. I got to redo some work on the hands, kind of landing it a little bit better on there. I got to do a little work on the antennas, and that's probably close to being it. But this guy is also he's also collectible size. It won't be miniature. So let me see if we can grab the die. Don't die on there, but he would probably be about maybe 5 inches, something like that. Something around that size, collectible size. So yeah, that one is going to be the first one that I print of my own, and that is a servitor skull for an hour 40K. And then he'll be sitting next to this dude, bro, at some point. And then I really want to do some Mechanicum, Adeptus Mechanicus. I want to do some of those. Yes. All right, let me show you these. Okay, here is. All right, here's the picture of the sculpt that I just printed. He's a little bit shiny, so it's a little bit tough to read out some of the stuff there, but you get a sense of the size, scale, and the amount of details is just nuts. And the model is amazing. Pose, the composition, the details. This is the little Bestiarum logo there. That was a pretty cool touch. Close-up time. Like, look at that. I'll have to go back and fix a couple little potholes from the supports, but nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. So, like, you don't see any layer lines until you get super duper close in. But most of that will be covered up by primer and paint. Done. But yeah. I'm pretty happy. I finally got my print done. But that's about the size that I want Jagatai to be. If you are interested in that model, the Bestiarum one, that is in the Bestiarum Patreon in their welcome pack. So if you just look up Bestiarum games and their Patreon, that one's in their welcome pack, and you could have it too, and you can print it out yourself, or you can find somebody who prints it for you. The Saturn II has a very, very big build volume. It's 10 inches diagonal is the build plate, and then like I think it's like 260 or something like that. Tall, 260 millimeters. Yeah, but it's probably about a foot and a half worth of distance. So you get big prints off of it. With your own plan 3D print, would you print something like that in parts and then piece it together? Yes. Yeah, you would definitely piece that stuff together. If you look at this guy, he's actually in, like, the barbarian was, this guy was his head, his body, and his legs, and then the beast dude was his head, his chest, his arm, his body, one leg, the other leg, and a weapon, and the base. And that's mostly so that you can hollow out a lot of these pieces, and then they can also fit on smaller printers. So the biggest thing is to make sure that you can hollow out enough so that you're not wasting a ton of resin on the inside of this one. This one would probably be, I don't know, if I was going to look at it right now, it'd probably be maybe the legs, and then the torso, the head, the base, and then hand and weapon, and then maybe hand and weapon. Something like that. Then you have keys and stuff in there to be able to do. But yeah, that's the goal. If you are interested actually in getting this bro dude, you can go to I'm actually going to give this STL out for free. If you would like to pick it up at some point, all you have to do is jump onto our newsletter for Clinker Built Studio and just sign up for our newsletter. And then when he's ready to roll, I'm just going to blast out a, hey, are you interested in this STL file or G2Box file or whatever the file is. Since it's not my IP, I'm not going to sell it. I'm just going to I'm going to give it away as fan art. But if you're interested, just sign up for our newsletter on our website, clinkerbuiltstudio.com. Okay, let's roll the Oskin free. All right, so we're working on this hips, I think. Yeah. So let's grab all that stuff, ungrab that stuff, and ungrab that. Okay, cool. So maybe he's rotated like that. That feels better. That feels like it's going in the right direction. Let's see. Obviously some cleanup, but maybe we can turn his head a little bit more too by that. Let's grab all of that. Let's ungrab all of that. Ungrab that. Ungrab that. Grab that. Okay. That guy. You want that guy. This stuff we don't want back there. Okay, cool. Maybe he It's kind of looking out that way. That's kind of cool. I like that way better. We'll fix his foot. But that pose actually feels way better. Now I want to test it from all angles, right? So the if it's a desktop piece, you'll probably be looking at it from about like this. I want to make sure that probably need to fix that guy a little bit. Wondering. Wonder. Grab that. Ungrab all that. Wonder if we can. What does it look like if he got... Nope, that doesn't look right. He got his wrist in a little bit. I don't like the straight up and down though. Straight up and down feels... Maybe we can actually push it back this way. I don't know. Yeah, maybe where it's at, it feels okay. Let's just get crazy. That feels cool too. Oh yeah. Sorry. That's maybe a possibility too. What do you guys think of that one? That's pretty cool. I like how in this one kind of everything's kind of going this way and this way, and this one just kind of slashes right across it. Or across all these. Right? Definitely a little bit more motion. And like action, he's like pointing at you. I'm going to chop your head off. I'm gonna eat you for dinner. That's not how he sounds though. So maybe that can be an option, right? Maybe he's got one option like this, you know, and then maybe another hand option that is like that, you know. That could work. I probably have to do it at the, not just the wrist, but I'd probably have to do it here. So make a cut here so that he can rotate that a little bit. That's pretty cool though. I like it with the contra pasta, the county pasta, legs and arms, much better than it was before. Okay, let's do this guy. Let's adjust this back leg a little bit. Don't want that. This has got to go back a smidge. Maybe what we can do too is grab this and that, and then we just rotate this guy around and reposition some of the bottom stuff so we can get. Grab that. Grab those guys. Okay. That one though. Maybe we can come. Oops. Maybe it's in the back like that. Let's see. Is there a method that you use in order to make sure your character's poses stand on its own without falling before printing, or do you just have to test print it? At this point, I think it's a little. See how it goes, because there's really like, there's really no way to test it. I don't think without actually printing it. You can use your kind of best guesstimation in your mind brain to see how it feels, because right now it feels like he would kind of fall this way. So either you'd have to use like a pin or something in here, or a deeper key so that he can, like, the glue can keep him in one spot, and then there's enough out here so that when you're thinking of the center of gravity, there's enough out here that the whole thing won't tip over. Yeah, yeah. Too bad ZBrush doesn't have a standing pose generator. Would it feel like if... Yeah, I don't think that works. I think keeping this stuff behind him works better, but maybe something like that. Kind of like the idea of having both of his feet on something and not one just on the ground. Okay, so let's grab this one. See if we can get a better. Kind of like that. Grab this and we'll just knock that down. Go. That down a little. I'm thinking this is just kind of maybe some rubble or something. Rubble on the double. Okay, that's two pieces, which is cool. So let's just group those guys real quick. Can use my move tool and do alt click on, sorry, control click on that one, because it's a different polygroup from the other one that's in it, so I can isolate it really quickly. And maybe there's something he's got his foot up against or something back here, or at least the toe, right? Maybe his heel is off, but the toe is like on. For Clan Lock, how long do you usually get to work on each character? Um, most of my professional work is in video game development. Um, so uh, the stuff for this, it's usually pretty quick. Your turnarounds are usually fairly quick for these types of things. So any shortcut you can give yourself, the better, because typically clients will be like, "Hey, I've got a thing. Can you do it?" Um, I it has to get off to print in like a week or 2 weeks. Can you do it? Then then you say yes or no. And then it's up to you how much time. So it really depends. Kit Bash Master. Yeah, so anything that you can do to to get there faster. So in this particular case, what I did was for his head. So, when you're doing something that you're like, "Oh, I need to it's got to be a really good looking head, right? If it's for like a character, um don't start from the beginning if you don't want to, maybe just take what I did was I took a head scan from where is it? Oh, there he is. I took a head scan from 3dscanstore.com, and then I just sculpted that into this guy, right? And so instead of wasting, you know, 6 days just trying to get a head to look right, you just go in and grab a base mesh and say, okay, I'm gonna take this guy. I mean, you still have to sculpt it so that it looks like something else, but you don't have to start from zero. Get yourself some good shortcuts really quickly. There you go. That's where I started from. And so there's a lot of shapes already there, but understanding what it takes to get from Caucasian to Mongol is that's your uh, that's you. That's what you got to figure out. But it's much quicker. It took me probably, I don't know, 45 minutes to get it from this to that. Super quick, much faster than 5 days. And then what I do is I also have a base body that I start from. I'm going to save this real quick because I really like this version. I have a kind of a base body that's in a bunch of pieces. So I can pose it really quickly and then start building on it real quick. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Really quickly. There we go. So I have this base body that I made. It's two subtools. That one and this one. So that you can really quickly just pick different parts and then pose really quickly, and then dynamesh whatever you need to. I'm actually probably going to put these base meshes up for grabs. I think I don't know if I'm gonna sell them yet or not, but these are really great for. It's kind of like a digital version of your little posable action figure dudes for sculpting. But I'm actually, this is what I started from for this guy. And then once I had the initial pose that I liked at the time, then I started building all of these pieces. and now it didn't really matter, but because I ended up not using or fixing the pose. But you get the idea. Okay. All right, so let's adjust some of the things that we need to adjust now. So let's turn that dude off. Let's grab this guy. Fix. This is just his inner thigh. Okay, so what I'll need to do is grab this, which is like his little side leather. Okay, let's grab this, pull it up. Gonna reorientate that. There we go. That's easy. Just grab it. Excuse me. Another thing that I do quite a bit in this phase is you'll see that I'm actually using dynamic on this, because if I want to move this piece around, I just want to move the overall shape, and I don't want to worry about it messing up the distance between the front and the back. So it's really just a plane, and then I use dynamic subdivision to give it some thickness of 0.8. That way I can move it really quickly and easily and not have to worry about that thickness getting kind of warped and messed up. Very helpful for the blockout phase to get your pieces kind of going. Yeah, I totally agree. I used to feel like I need to start from scratch with every model, or I'd be cheating myself for OCD, but just started building my own personal library. Absolutely. That is like one of the... I mean, you're working on your own tools, you know? Every mechanic has their own tool library, you know? So it's much faster. You know, I don't really ever start with a... you know, in the video game industry, we don't start that way either, where we don't create a base mesh every single time. You just grab the already created base mesh, and then you build on top of that. Out a little bit, so it's on top of that guy. Okay, cool. That'll end up getting Dynamesh together. Fine. Okay, now we gotta grab. Yeah, so I do that 3dscanstore.com. I'll keep an eye on their sales. They have sales quite a bit, and so they'll have like 50% off the entire store, or you know, 60% off heads this week or something like that. And just pick up what you need, and then add it to your library. I actually just show you guys. They use quite a bit. So this is, see, what do I have? I have, let's see, I have a female base body. I have a male base body. I have a couple of feet, because I hate sculpting feet. But who does, besides Michelangelo? I have a couple of hands, and then a slew of heads. So I have some female heads, just with different overall shapes and ethnicities, so I can kind of start somewhere. And then I have some different head scans to start from that have like different kind of structural shapes to it. So hands, feet, base bodies, and a couple of different heads. And I think that's about it. Because the other thing you can do, which is really helpful, is you can source some of these initial textures as well, and then adapt the base textures to whatever you need to. So it's really helpful to be able to get more than just the sculpt. You can actually get the base textures and normal passes and those things pretty quickly and easily. So that's very helpful for me. But then you just do the same thing. You know, if you're sculpting miniatures, so like let's say uh, what I'm what I'm doing is for this guy, you know, I may have more Adaptus Mechanicus work coming up. So then I'll be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to make insert brushes for a lot of these. What's up, Voxel? You know, maybe this canister or the ends of these pieces I'll make into brushes, or these little pieces, the iconic pieces that you'll use time and time again for that type of model, right? Okay. Thanks, Voxel. Appreciate it, man. Give me 1 second. Check in with my wife real quick. Make sure. All right. Okay. What's up, Alessandro? How you doing? Yeah, so this guy's fun. So then I know that if I'm going to use those pieces again, I'll just make a library for myself. And then when I'm done with this fine young cannibal, I'll probably keep some of the pieces that are similar for other people. You know, so like probably the legs. So you don't have to create those shapes over again. So on and so forth. Work smart, right? You would love to see the skull rigged and moving. Oh man, I would too. I would too. Let me just tell you. Okay. Yeah, you know what's up, Voxel. Who is that? That's the question, Voxel. Who? Who is it? Who it be? Who you? Yep, Jagatai. So the other thing I got to figure out is which way the wind is blowing. So I want things to be consistent. So let's grab. Oh God, where did it get the bottom? But it's not there anymore. Cape, cape, the cape, cape. Nope. What's up, Rao? This guy's very high poly. Well, he's actually low poly at the moment, but it's because he's in blockout phase. Little trick is if you turn on your polyframe and then just do a quick render, you can actually see what your poly grips look like. And then I think it's fill. Yeah, fill and that. I think in render somewhere you can put on the the lines. But he's still in blockout phase. So the cape, find the cape. Where be the cape? There it is. All right, so I want to make sure that things are moving in that direction. So maybe this guy's actually. And again, this guy is using that same dynamic trick, so that I can just feel free to move without it messing up the thickness there. So I got this one's gonna go on the thigh. What's cool is if things kind of start getting hairy, excuse me, then you can just turn off dynamic, and then you can go in and just use your smooth brush or your alt smooth, which is you're smoothing, you smooth, and while you keep your pen down, you let go of shift, and that will basically what it'll do. It will try to maintain the average form, but will average out the vertices while keeping the not off. Okay, so this gonna come back that way. Are you talking about Jagatai or me? This we're going to just out of there for right this second. This one pull out of there. Sec. Just work on this one. So we'll just that's a nice thing is we could just kind of hammer the crap out of this cloth, and that it will still maintain that nice border. Okay, so maybe this kind of comes in, and then it kind of sweeps back a little bit. So I want to have a little bit of weight still, so like maybe it kind of bellows back like that. Okay. My daughter is having a tough time out there right now, so if you hear kids wailing in the background, it's my daughter. She's tired. It's nap time. And then we can turn on double to look at the back of that too. I don't think I want it to ride forward that much, so maybe we'll just pull this back. And then we'll turn on dynamic subdiv again. Get that back. Then what we can do is give a little bit of this, a hint of this fold logic in. This is all going to duck back underneath the belt there. That. This way. Make sure that this has a nice curve to it as well. So it looks good from all directions here. Okay, all right, let's fix this one. Okay, let's get this guy. Okay, so that's going to go back on the thigh right there. This guy is... I feel like he's moving in the wrong direction. Everything's moving back that way, and he's kind of like coming towards you, which is not correct. So I'm going to actually mirror this guy over to the other side. And then bring him over like this. Look at that. Now it's going the other way. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Trying to start doing my own game development. Is ZBrush good for game development? ZBrush is good for sculpting. So if you need to sculpt your models, then absolutely. It really depends on, I think, your style. But you'll need to have some kind of 3D program for sure. Okay. Grab this guy. ZBrush is absolutely amazing. And it's a key pillar in a lot of different pipelines. Anything from video game to anything where you're creating a 3D model. As a video game character artist, I use it every day at work. Maybe not every day, but a lot. I love to create character model or 3D characters. My style is like realistic. Yes. Then I highly suggest getting and learning ZBrush. Very amazing. Do you have time to play any games? If so, what are you currently playing? And are there any new games coming out that you're looking forward to? Actually, I try to keep time to play video games for research. Because I work at Crystal Dynamics as a character artist, and we do realistic, kind of cutting edge characters. So what I need to do is I need to make sure that I know what's going on in the industry. So, yes, I try to play as many video games as I can that I have time for. Some of my favorites. What's up, Tattoon? You'd love to see a return of Legacy of the Kain franchise. So would I. That'd be awesome, man. I'm good, Tattoon. How you doing, man? But we did announce, and I can say that I am currently working on the future of Tomb Raider. I was on the Avengers for many years. I got to do Black Panther. I got to do Spider-Man. I pretty much worked on every other every other character in that game at some point. That was a career high for me. I was lucky enough to be able to do the entire Black Panther outfit, the iconic version. That was fun. What's up, Ram? How you doing, man? Yeah, look what I'm still working on. Mike was grilling me about the pose, so I have to make sure that my pose game is at least a third of what his pose game is. Mike Thompson is awesome sculptor. He does a lot of figures. He was also a streamer here on ZBrush, but him and Bradley actually run the Stylist League. If you get a chance, go check out the Stylist League, as they are doing some awesome stuff over there. Thanks, Ram. Yeah, he's got a long way to go too, a long way to go, but we're making progress. We're making progress. I actually only probably work on this guy, maybe 2 or 3 hours a month. That's really, so maybe in like 2 years I'll get him done. But going back to the video game question, anything realistic, I'm a big fan of. So God of War. I'm actually a really big fan of more single player games. So and open world, I like. So Assassin's Creed, Uncharted. But I'm also a huge Diablo fan. So I've probably played Diablo 3 many seasons. Can you show how to move multiple selective objects in ZBrush altogether? Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit ago I was posing the legs, and the legs are made up of multiple pieces. So that's a piece, that's a piece, that's a piece, that's a piece. So what I do is I'll settle on one piece that will hold the rotation, and then you go up and hit this little dude here, and you get the pizza boxes. And then what you can do is use your selection. So in this case, I'm using select lasso. So if you hold down shift and control, then you can start selecting things. So from here, if it's lined out, then you're not going to be moving it. So if I want to deselect the cape, then I will go use shift control, and then I'll tap alt to use the red part of it. So that will deselect that one. And then I'll deselect all of this down here. I think I have enough, so then what I'll do is I'll just kind of move it like that. Okay, I'm missing the foot. So then I'll select that, and then unselect this. Okay, there we go. All right, and then I can just move that as I see fit. Yep, no problem. And then to turn it off, if you go out of move, sometimes well, maybe not now, but in older versions you would have things lined out. So if you're in an older version, just uncheck that box to go back to singular subtool selection mode, and then that will make sure that things aren't lined out. Have you ever used the issue of friends asking free and cheap commissions because they know you're an artist? Find it hard to turn down people I know. Yes. I think we all go through that at some point. It's it's kind of tough to deal with sometimes, depending on the person and the situation and stuff. But yeah, like Voxel said, a lot of times, you know, if you feel like you don't have the time or you don't want to do it, you can always blame it on being too busy, and then just leave it at that. So if they're like, "Oh, what are you busy at? Why can't you do it?" You're like, "Well, I've got client work." Controlled tab works as well. Yeah. Okay, so let's get this. I'm super excited for Ragnarok too. I'm very, very excited. Okay, so this gonna go back. Why do I look like Marcus from Gears of War? Who, me? Wait, hold on. The grubs. That's because I'm Viking Irish. Alright, so let's get this piece back. Ooh, no, not that piece. I got an Irish joke for you. Why did God create whiskey? So that the Irish wouldn't take over the world. Funny but so true. Maybe I want this one going back this way too. So what I'm gonna do is, oh, where'd the tool palette go? Come back, tool. So what I'm gonna do is just I'm gonna mirror it, and then it should come back the other way. Whoop. Can't even take back the North Island. Yep. Okay, so grab that. We're too busy partying, uh, drinking the Guinness. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere on this bad mama jamma. Just trying to get some of these major pieces back in. So let's fix the toe and the foot. What's up, Mikkel? Thanks, man. Thank you. It's really just oh, I'm gonna have to do some doctor work. Ooh. Patience is key. Um, Perseverance. I like to thank my coach. I like to thank my mom. And just taking your time. Just doing things correctly. And looking at shape and flow and silhouette. And keeping the that those base art concepts in mind very early. So composition, silhouette, frequency of detail, pattern, those types of things. Just keeping those things in mind in the early process, because if you can nail down the overall feel of the primary shapes, then the rest is just icing on the cake. If your primary shapes are turd, then you're just polishing a turd. You know what I mean? It's really important to make sure that like the overall feel and the overall success of your piece is prevalent and established in the early phases, because then it just goes up from there. That's feeling. How did you create the chainmail detail? Aha! That is micro mesh in dynamic subdivisions. So what I did was I grabbed a plane, right? So then I used dynamic subdiv, and I just used micro mesh. So I grabbed a shape, I Z-remeshed it so that the geo is all even, and then I used micropoly, and I used this one right here, which made that, and then you hit apply. That creates geometry, and then you can do auto groups, and that will auto group each one of these, and then you just hide and delete the ones that you don't want, which gave me this. Easy peasy. Micro mesh. Do it. I am in games. Like Mikkel. I think it's Mikkel, right? So you could do the same thing to this guy, right? So you can say, Mikkel. So this guy is also dynamic, right? But in this particular case, I only made it one side. I made it two-sided, so I'd want to go back and do that. But if I wanted to, let's duplicate this guy, right? We'll go back to the original one. We'll go back to dynamic, and then we'll go to this new one, and then we'll say I want to isolate just the front. Right, cool. Let's put on double so we can see both sides. Good. Okay, we'll do delete hidden. So now I just have that mesh like that. And then maybe what I'll do is I'll just do a quick alt smooth. So again, alt smooth is holding down shift, start smoothing, keep your pen down, and then let go of shift, and then like that. And then what that will do is that will kind of even out your geometry, your vertexes, while keeping the overall shape. Now the question is, how do you fix up those sides? That's actually fairly easy if you use the polish by groups. That's in tool deformation, polish by groups. If you're in deformation, it's polish by groups right there. And that will kind of fix up the edges so that it went from that to that. All right, so now I have nice, clean, even geo. Actually, before you do polish by edges, it's good to mask off the corners. So you just throw a mask on each little corner, and then if you polish by groups, it won't curve those corners. All right, so now you have a mesh that is in the shape that you want it to be, right? Maybe you can, let's do a little bit of this. All right, we'll just pull that so that it's sitting kind of on top. Now, what you could do is you could also do project, but then you would need to isolate these two, and I have a lot of hidden thingamajigs. But what I could do is you can, maybe what I'll do is I'll just go like that, blur it. Switch, blur. There you go. And then now, if you do project, surface project all. No, I don't want the poly paint. And it's gonna crash. Don't crash, please. Please don't crash. But it's saving it. Um, do it. All right, let's try that again. How do you deal with secondary forms and detailing since you're working asymmetrically? You just you use mirror and move. Let's grab recovered ZTL tool. See if this will bring it back up. Haha! Success! Alright, so we won't do that again. But what we will do is just prove the point here. Alright, so then now I've got a mesh that is like that, and then I can go into geometry. Let's do dynamic subdiv, and then we'll do micropoly. And then we'll choose which one we want. Do we want that one? Nope. We want that one. So let's do fit weld is on. That's what I want. That guy. Possibly. This is another cool way to do like micro detail. Like maybe you do that, and maybe you just want to keep these little slash dudes, you know. A line. Right, so that's how you would do those types of things. So you can see where you can go with those, and then you can hit apply, and then you can move it or change it however you want to. You can take pieces out. What's up, Hannibal? How you doing, buddy? But if sometimes if you are not getting the results that you want, you may want to just Z-remesh this. So if we go to Z-remesh, you see how like some of them are long than short. So if you do, let's just do same and Z-remesh that. All right, probably not the best. So let's do double and then Z-remesh. Maybe I'll take off detect edges. That sometimes makes a weird. So if you're getting issues like this, where it's not all nice, there is two different versions of ZBrush. So if you hold down Alt and then click ZBrush, there's actually two different Alt, Control. Supposed to be Alt. There's two different algorithms that they use. So if you don't like one version of it, you can use a different version. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just change the geo real quick, and then again, still kind of funky monkey, isn't it? Anyways, you get the idea. Maybe you will do keep groups. What that does. Usually gives me nice clean geo, but it's not wanting to at the moment. What's cool is that you can move this around because it's just instancing that micro geo. So really what you're doing is you're just moving this plane, and it's recalculating that geo on the fly. Which is pretty cool. Go down to geo, subdiv. Yeah, the adaptive size could be bigger. Or use Legacy, whichever one you feel works for you. Or you can come in and you can make your own of these, which is pretty cool. There you go. That's freaking dope. So maybe you need a piece like this, but like, what if instead of like this, you say, you know what? Let's just maybe it's got a center line that goes through this base piece. And then you can sculpt over it. So you could say, all right, let's go into our Z modeler and let's go into delete. Go delete poly loop. And we'll just delete that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Something like that. Yep, cool. And then we'll go turn that back on. All right, and then now you have that, and then you can come in and just on this one you can do sculpty, and kind of have this like as an inlaid part. Anyways, that's how you can incorporate micropoly. Oops. That's not what. Give me there it is. That's the one. Let's just delete the guy. Don't want that. We don't want it. All right, but that's how I did the chainmail. For print though, what I am going to need to do is I will need to incorporate this piece back here, and I will need to bring it probably through here like this, so that it is clipping the back of it like that. Because when you print it, printing small little whole pieces like that is very problematic and very fragile. So you need to have some kind of backing on there. But I'll get into that when I'm done. When I'm done sculpty. I never knew about the Alt Zero Mesh. Yeah, there you go. You know, as much as I've been I've been using ZBrush for many years. I still even just not just ZBrush people that I'm watching, like Pixelogic, Maxon employees, like Paul or any of the other amazing people over there. I still learn a lot just from watching artists work, because everybody has like a different kind of method, and they'll remember different tools and so forth. So watching people live is actually super beneficial. There's a lot of times you're like, oh wait, what did you just do? What the hell, Bobby? So I use that alt smooth quite a bit. Maybe I'll just turn the intensity down just a little bit. All right, so this is the alt smooth. We'll just take, and it has a dynamic subdiv on it, so that it's kind of just cleaning things up a little bit. Okay, now I actually want to reposition this belt a little, because I moved the hips. I want this to kind of come down. And then I want to make sure that I have a good amount of depth to this guy. One of the things that I'm a big proponent of is depth, which means that you have a layer out here, and then a layer, and then a layer, and then a layer. Everything's not just like flush, you know. You have a lot of different layers going on, like ogres, because they have layers. So I'll make sure that I have a lot of that. For games, do you still do micro details in ZBrush to bake in your normal map, or do you do more of the micro details in something like Substance Painter? It depends on if it is what we call broad information or micro information. So if it's like, oh, like little surface dings or scratches and stuff like on this metal for this thing, like that could easily be done in your material phase in Substance Painter. But if I'm doing like silhouette changes or things that are going to be kind of permanent, then I will do that in the sculpt. So I will always try to do as much of the micro detail in materials as possible, because what happens is it all gets baked down to a normal map anyways. So whether your information comes from the normal bake process from your sculpt or the normal bake process from your Substance Painter output, it all goes to a normal map. So you can do it in ZBrush, but then you can't change it very easily. So it's really about what do you want to change and what do you want to be permanent, kind of thing. So like surface details and little nicks and dings and stuff I'll do in materials, but if it's like, like this little corner is missing, or like it's like a filigree design or something on here, like that's not going to change. That's really tough to do in Substance Painter. So you do that kind of micro stuff in your sculpt because it's not going to change and it's much easier to do it in ZBrush. Now, this guy, he actually is Geo. Um, so I want to be. Sorry, I keep coughing, guys. I want to be careful on how I move things, because if I'm just using my move topological like I normally do, each one of these are a different piece. So what I would need to do is use just my regular move brush, right, which grabs anything within your brush radius. But the problem is once you start doing that, then things start stretching. So one way to kind of nudge around, if you have to, is to use micro movements, is what I call it. So if I need like this border to kind of like come in, what I'll do is I'll grab it with a bigger brush and then just kind of move it just a little bit, and then grab somewhere else and move it a little bit, grab somewhere else and move it a little bit. And this, while it takes a little bit longer, it typically will reserve the micro shapes. If that makes sense. But that's a little trick that I use quite a bit to make sure that things kind of retain their overall kind of microstructure. So like if I have to kind of bring that back, so let's undo all that. Okay, that's started. Okay, so like this piece, then I'll just use kind of a big brush with my regular move, and then I'll just kind of grab it in different areas and just start nudging things back just a little bit here and there. And that will help maintain those shapes. And then you can go into the smaller brush, and if you need to fix a couple things, then you can do it that way. But I use that quite a bit. All right, well, before we get too crazy on that, let's fix the guy back here. This one's going to duck underneath the belt. This piece. How do we have it? Okay, so the loincloth is go underneath. So this goes underneath. This piece goes the next level up. It's 2:30 already? Good lord. What about those intersecting pieces, the squares on the belt? Would this have any effect when 3D printing, or would this be dynameshed and joined into one? Yes, it would definitely have printing issues. So let's say like these two pieces here are what I would be done with. I would make sure that at some point either there is another shape behind here to kind of fill those gaps in there, and then just, you know, it would come, whatever that piece under there would just fill this hole. And then I would make sure that this one was touching there, right? And even maybe just intersecting a little bit so that there's no weird gaps in there. Right, and then you just have to kind of fix all that stuff. But yeah, you would need to go back and like do a bunch of under like fill sculpting. Phil. He sculpts. But yeah, you would need to go and do that. Probably one of the Shane, what's up, buddy? One of the biggest things in that you can do to help kind of figure out like what works and what doesn't work is to get your hands on some models that are prepped to print, and then see Phil McCrevice. Yes. You just you'll see kind of how they did things. So like if I'm looking at see if I can get a good example. I probably won't be able to show you, but I don't know. What I would do is maybe take guy's pretty big. But like if you're gonna look at like how they did the chains, right? Then look at the digital file and look at, you know, how they filled those holes in there, and know like what reads from close up versus what reads from far away, and what is going to give you errors, and the shapes that you want when it's printed, right? So the biggest thing you can do is study like how they did all of this and how much crevice got into there. You know what I mean? That's a reference. Because ultimately, it's about what the goal of the model is. Which in this case, the goal of this model is to look as good as possible in printed form at about this size on your desk, right? So then I would probably go and make sure that all of those crevices in here are like all full and everything. But obviously that's later. Definitely later. How you doing, Shane? Shane, Mr. Dr. Olson, coming at you. How you doing, buddy? Finally made one of my streams. I'm just so excited. If you guys don't know Shane Olson, he's an amazing stylized character artist who also streams on ZBrush and runs his own character workshop called 3D Character Workshop. Right? 3D Character Workshop? 3D Workshop Character. No, 3D Character Workshop. But he's actually been teaching for a few years now. And he's got a lot of students. It's really, really great course. So if you get a chance, you should go and check out 3D Character Workshop. And he also streams on the Pixelogic channel, the Maxon ZBrush channel. So if you're not following the Maxon channel here on Twitch, You should follow it. Dude, Shane, I just had a great successful 3D print last night of that guy that I just showed you. I'm very happy. I was having some issues with the with the prints. Not prints, but the prints on my Saturn II. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Here, I'll show you the actually show you the images. Print. This bad mamma jamma. So this is not my sculpt. This is from Bestiarum Games. Their Patreon is like $10 a month. They give out like somewhere around between like 15 and 30 models new a month, all digital files. But this one is from their welcome pack, the Patreon. Let's give you an idea. Well, I just showed you that. Possible in your experience to make a living out of selling just 3D printable models you create? And if so, what are the preferred channels, sites to go over that? It is possible. It's quite an endeavor. The market is filling up fairly quickly, but if you have good stick-to-itiveness and a good business sense, then yeah, people are making money from it at this moment. But then, you know, things shift. You know? So for me, this is more of a supplemental. But yeah, this guy is mad crazy. Look at that. Look at that, man. So good. So cool. I cannot wait to paint this guy. Oh, I can't wait to paint this guy. Look at that. So cool. But like you can see how they did, you know, all the little pieces. Like all of this is filled in here. All right? There's not a whole lot under there. How did they do the chains? You know, like they filled in all of those areas, and this piece is probably right next to that piece, so like that's probably all filled in there. And then you've got a little gap in here. This is all filled in under there. So this is your study piece, you know, or some other pieces. You can see those how small the layer lines are, and I'm just 0.05 is my layer height. So I can go down all the way to I think 0.01. Yeah, penetrating meshes for stability. As long as it's one tight mesh when you are printing it. So you can run penetrating meshes in here that kind of cover the gaps, but you'll need to dynamesh it so that it's all one mesh. Oh, you subscribe to Bestiarum? You guys are awesome. That one in they're my favorites, and so is Archvillain Games. Their work is just absolutely crazy good. It is an airbrush I may like to try. Ooh, I got my own airbrush. I do. I actually I use it to start off a lot of my bigger paint jobs. I love the airbrush. I love it. Excuse me. Anyways, so that's I'm gonna try to maybe record the painting process for this guy, and we'll see. I may just paint him at night with some beers and be like, nah, I don't want to show you guys. But that's the goal of this guy, is to get him to that level. Oh yeah, Loot Studios does some really good stuff too. I feel like there's one other one. Well, there are plenty of other ones, but Loot Studios, Bestiarum, and Archvillain Games are really, really good. You can actually go to there are companies out there that will print those specific files for you from Archvillain or Bestiarum and then send it to you. ship it to you. The ones that I've used is Only Games, so Only Dash Games. They're out of the UK though, but their shipping is really good, and their prints are amazing, absolutely amazing. And the other one is the other one I use is Questborn. Questborn, Questborne. They are in the United States, and they have a bunch of stuff to print. I don't know exactly what they have, but then there's a bunch of people on Etsy that do it too. That will like pay for the commercial license from these studios, the sculpting studio, and then they'll offer the service of printing and shipping if you don't have a printer and you would like to get your hands on some of these things. Oh, it's way off back there. Hey, buddy. What are you doing? So, Shane, what are you up to, buddy? Buddy pal, chief, dude, bro. How's life? Oh, now that I have a printer running, I'm gonna print out that that mask that I bought from Martine. I'm excited for that. I may print that tonight. Actually, I printed another guy last night. I don't have pictures of him, so you'll have to excuse me, but also but that guy I printed along with him. And this guy is actually from Bestiarum from this month's Patreon release. This guy's really cool, but he is solid. There's nothing no hollow in him. So like he's actually fairly hefty. Hefty. Whippy. But he like comes with different arms stuff. Cool. Put like a shield on him. Anyways, I'm loving the whole printing thing. Once you get everything down, printing, 3D printing, resin printing can be a nightmare if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know what you're doing. So if you're thinking, please, if you're thinking about getting into resin printing, do some research first. Please do research first. It's really important. Knowing what is that? Knowing what the dangers are of the resin, how to handle resin, what to be careful of, how to print things. There's a lot that goes into it. It is very rewarding, but the resin is actually really toxic. So you really need to have some decent lab skills and a space to be able to isolate your print area from. You ever do traditional sculpting? Yeah, actually. You did some monster clay stuff for a little while. Yeah, I don't really have anything to show at the moment, but yes, when I was getting back into the game industry in 2012, 2013, I was doing traditional sculpting. I actually suggest that if you are thinking about getting into doing sculpting in general, that you should try your hand at physical sculpting. It just makes a huge difference in just how you perceive shapes in 3 dimensions. It makes a huge difference. I just want to say hi and thank you for streaming. I've been getting work done and listening. Nice. It's a hangout session, right? Nice to. That's why I like doing live stuff. It's great to let the other side of your brain kind of do something while you're doing something else. You don't paint miniature figures, but you're getting secondhand excitement. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. There are times when your model, like your subtool here, is too thin. So if you're like, oh, I'm just gonna make this thicker on this side over here, and you're like, oh, well, now what? There is something called backface mask, which is in your brush panel. If you go to brush, auto masking, backface mask, I actually take that and put that out on my UI. This is brush specific, so it can be on and or off. Oh, you gotta roll? Okay. Yeah, thanks for coming by, man. Rat Lord. It's kind of like being in a, it is kind of like being in a studio. So if you use backface mask, right now I'm at clay buildup, then I can just do this, and then it masks the back face. Look at that. But I leave it out here on my thing so I can know if something is being weird because something is on. All right, take it easy. Let it reload. All right. So let's see if we can get this out here. Maybe fill that gap in there. Shane, you still here? When are you streaming next? Monday? Maybe. Yeah, that feels better. You know what? Gosh darn it, Mike Thompson was right. He was right. The contra pasta of this arm forward, opposite leg forward, this arm back, opposite leg back. It just feels better. Just feels better. Mondays at 11. Are you still doing that consistently? Nice. Mike is always right. He is, man. And sometimes he likes it. 80s reference. Okay, we're gonna get this foot out there just a little bit further, and then we got one little piece back in here. Fills that gap. Hey, Mikey. Mikey likes it. And one of these days we'll get to hang out again, man. If they ever have a ZBrush summit again. Contra Costa County. Yes, Contra Costa County pose. Yeah, that's the one. Contra. I was gonna say County Pasta. Contra County Pasta. Contra Pasta. Let's see. Maybe this piece needs to go out, down a little bit more. So that this piece can come out and kind of just peek out there. Okay. What's up, Ben? Still chipping away. Yeah, that's if you have followed me on Twitch over the last, God, when did I start? I think I actually started streaming in 2014. So it's been 8 years of streaming. If you followed me for any of those years, you'll know that um I my projects on here do not go fast. It's mostly because man, I want to share the project that I'm working on with those who I'm streaming with, who are hanging out, so they can document the whole process. Documents. But I only usually stream a couple hours a month at this point, just because job and family and kids and awkward and on. So this these projects tend to go on for a little bit. This goes. Yes, chipping away. Long story short, chipping away. Got a question. When have you learned ZBrush and got so good? Where have you learned ZBrush and got so good? Are you self-taught sculptor? Yes, technically I am. I started using ZBrush a little bit back in like 2006, 2005, something like that. And then I went into the medical industry for 2007 to 2013. And then from there, I came back into the video game industry and had to teach myself ZBrush. So I started with just some online tutorials just to get the basic stuff, and then like Z Classroom, like just got got some good basic stuff from there, and then I just started playing around. So over the last 8 years, just because I use it so much, and I stream and I use it at work, you get real used to it pretty quickly. But yeah, I was pretty much self-taught. Oh, Rusty's got to go. Yeah, man. Well, thanks for dropping by, man. Scotland, Scotland. That's across the pond from the motherland. I was watching Mike and you guys last night on Stylus League, and they all jumped onto Dev early so that they can show later stages of character design. Yeah, exactly. It's important to be able to have later stages to show as well, but it's also important to show what it takes to get to that, right? So because a lot of times when you're browsing through ArtStation or you're watching tutorials and stuff like that, you're like, oh, this finished piece and it's amazing, and like you don't really get a sense of all of the work and the time that goes into making that. I keep hitting my mic, I'm sorry. So when you're doing it live, it really it slows everything down and gives you an idea of like how much work actually goes in to creating those. So when you sculpt, okay, yeah. So when your sculpt is ready for printing, do you Dynamesh the whole thing? Which process? Yeah, you would first thing you would do is decide how you want to break up and key the model, and then for those pieces that make up a section. So let's say a good place to break this guy up would be in between his upper body and his lower body, somewhere inside the belt. So then you would just make a key inside here, right? So like the whole top could be done. But what that would mean would be that each one of these need to be Dynameshed and be one model. So like you would have to like solve what all these gaps are. But yes, I would Dynamesh all the things, and make sure that there's no gaps and stuff. But we're very early in this guy in even just the blockout phase. We're still in the blockout phase, so not worried about it at the moment right now. Do I rig the figures? No, not for printing. But then not even for my video game work, because we'll typically have the tech art riggers doing that work. So rigging, I don't actually do. I look at rigging and go, wait, how did you do that? I want to do that. I figure, I'm teaching myself hair and fur. Good luck. So learning how to deal with alphas in in-game rendering. Yeah, we're on the precipice in the video game industry between cards and strand-based hair. We're very, very close. Unreal, depending on, of course, the engine that you're using, we're close to being able to do mostly strand-based hair, but for most projects you'll still need cards. But and doing cards is not. I did a ton of hair work on Marvel's Avengers, and that really burnt me out on hair. So the project I'm on right now, I'm just like, yeah, you guys can do hair. I'll do other stuff. I'm a little burnt out on hair, man. As we were doing, actually, if you look at here, do this. Yeah, man, you can bug me there. So here's my art station. I did a lot of the hair work on some of the major characters. So we had some outsource. Actually, Airship did a lot of our work. They're absolutely amazing. But we had to do a lot of fixing and stuff in house. So I ended up doing a lot of the like finalizing work, and in some cases, complete rework. So her hair, we started with the vendor work, and then I basically redid the whole thing. And this is all cards. All cards. All of the cards. If I can zoom in. Yeah, that's all cards. Good God, man. I mean, you know how many cards were just in the hairline? Good God, man. No, this is all cards. You can start seeing it kind of like fall apart a little bit. You can see some of the uh faceting in here, but like all of this, that's all. Oh my gosh, it was insane. And then we did Kamala's. Again, these are all cards, but just the amount of card work is just like, oh, oh. I think we ended up spending I think after it was LOD'd, I think this hair was like 70,000 polys at Lot Zero. But you had to we had to have very close up shots for cines. So we had to have hair that was that would hold up, right? So we had to have shader work versus alphas and strands and card work. But yeah, spent a lot of time. All these are tries, yeah. But that one was cool. And then I also did a lot of the work on T'Challa. So you can see here, this is these are the hair cards. Look at that. Bruh. Those are hair cards. Look at that. What? But you kind of had to, because you really needed to nail the you had to nail the silhouette, right? Because it can't look like this, right? It has to have like randomized little hairs coming out. So I actually hand placed all of those cards, all of them. But it worked, right? It worked. Again, Airship did a lot of the top. But this, you get an idea of. I mean, look at his goatee as well. Like, it's just, there's so much. But like this head had to hold up in close-ups in Cine. But this was also the game mesh, just blotted down, right? So yeah, hair is. Nope, not a displacement map. Nope. Look at all that. It's in realistic art, it's about the accumulation of subtleties. You can use that. The accumulation of subtleties is what makes realistic stuff. So having things, come off in random parts, and then like taking like 3 weeks to just handle the fade on the hairline, and another like 2 or 3 weeks to hand place all of the cards on the side. Like it just becomes so important. Hand placed, yes. No, at that time we didn't have time to develop a tool to do it for us. Oh, it's typical turnaround that you have a crystal for character from start to finish. It's really kind of all over the place. um, the outfit I did. Go back to the road. All right, so here's the outfit. Um, this outfit took me about about 3 weeks for the high res. So maybe like a week for the blockout, 2 or 3 weeks for high res, a week or so for low res, maybe 2 weeks for low res, and another week for baking and UVs, and that somebody count for me. I'm not counting. And then another maybe 2 weeks or so for materials, and then revisions. So it's probably about 2 months, something like that. But then you have like back and forth, and this was another reason why we had to make the head like super super realistic, is because we had shots like this where you had the head and the body. Hairlines they're so tough. Hairlines are very, very tough. But yeah, that's hair. I also did the sculpt for the iconic Spider-Man. We had a vendor do our materials, but I did the high res sculpt for him. That was fun. Anyways, that's beyond what we're ZBrushing about, but yeah. If you want to check out my art station, you're more than welcome to. Put it down here. And if you want to, you can give me a follow. Support your local artist. Booterman! Yeah. But all that stuff started from, blockouts and types of things. So being able to nail those things is early on really important. Thanks, Quicks. The art's made by one people or a team, and how much time you need for it? It's a small army. Make that stuff. You've got the concept design team who come up with the idea. You've got the art directors that say yes, let's do that, or let's not do that. You've got the character modeler, who is me, who blocks it out, does the high res, does the low res, does the baking, does the materials, and then final rendering, those types of things. And then that's just a static model. Then you give it to the tech art team, so the riggers will get it and they'll fix them up so that the animators can then take and move them. Then the animators will get in there and animate them. And then you've got probably VFX too for a lot of people. So like, if you got glowing claws, or like, you have VFX stuff that you need. And then there's lighting to make sure that all the lights look good, and so on and so forth. We don't have separate texture artist. That's something that we do as a character artist. Some people do, depending on the makeup of the studio and the team. Thanks, Quicks. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was painful, but I think it turned out okay. The real problem with all that hair was getting it to run in the game. How many character artists are there at Crystal? Well, we've got Avengers, we've got Tomb Raider, Avengers and Tomb Raider, and we've got the Perfect Dark project. So we have 3 main teams, but we don't have a ton. So I would say in total probably somewhere between 8 and 10, 8 and 12, something like that. But then we also have outsource partners and stuff that do a lot of the work too. Yeah. Crystal Diamonds, do character artists do any of the skinning work, or does that entirely go to the rigger? That's all the tech art team, the riggers. We don't do any of that. Can't help but think about how weight painting and all that hair would have been for riggers, and then be in agony with some of those faces. Yeah, and then the tech art team who is doing physics, trying to get that hair to like roll over the shoulder in a natural way when they turn, and solving those things. Ugh. Yeah, we had some genius people on the physics team. And then the Thor hair. Oh, have you noticed? If you haven't yet, you will after this conversation. That most video game characters that have long hair is pulled back somehow. It's very, very rarely down, like in front of their shoulders, or down over their shoulder. It's because it's really tough to calculate in a realistic way how the physics of the hair is set up to move over the shoulders when you're doing this, or when you're doing this, or when you're jumping, or when you're falling. It's very difficult. Even Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West, if you look at her, you think of Aloy, you're like, oh yeah, she's got this big mane of hair. Yeah, of course she does. Ah ha ha. But a lot of it is actually braided back. So most of it hangs behind her, and then only a few strands kind of like come in the front. But that's very, very few. It's mostly because the physics of rolling over the shoulders is so... It's very hard to nail down, and when you do nail it down, if you can, it's expensive, because you have to calculate those calculations on the fly at 60 frames per second. Yeah. So there's more better there's more betterer. Oh my god, it's 3:14. I gotta go. So there's better physics possibilities for using hair splines. So that's one of the good reasons of using splines if you can. It's also really expensive, so to run. Anyways, I do have to run. We are over time. I do enjoy these conversations quite a bit. I love sharing the knowledge. I love answering questions and showing things. The downside of it is we typically don't get a whole lot of work done, which is fine. So if you would like to follow me on my personal Twitch channel, I typically will do a little bit more work on there. So let me throw my Twitch channel in there real quick, just in case. Twitch.tv/Brendon Isaiah Bengtson. Let me spell that for you. I think that's it. That and any support that you guys would like to give to Clinker Built Studio, my new building and painting studio that I'm running. Clinker Built Studio.com. Go check out our website, and if you would like to and or interested in getting your hands on that that servitor skull, you can sign up for our newsletter, and we will be doing giving away that STL to people who are on the news. So if you'd like to sign up for that, if you are not already. We also have an Etsy page where we're selling custom painted miniatures, mostly Warhammer. Warhammer Fantasy, Age of Sigmar, and Warhammer 40,000. So we got some stuff up there for sale. So if you would like to add to your collection, or if you just want some really cool desk art painted by me, we do have these guys up for sale as one-of-a-kind offs. Yeah, the Titan right behind me is actually up there. This guy. We also have a War Master Titan from the Adeptus Titanicus line. We have a couple other things up there too. So if you'd like to show some support and want to add to your collection, that is a possibility as well. So with that, thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a couple things, but most of all, I hope you're inspired to go make your own cool stuff. So you get out there and you make some cool stuff and be a nice person. All right, I think that's it. I said my P's and Q's. All right, thanks everybody. I'm out of here. We'll see you probably in a couple weeks, if not on my personal channel. So thank you. Okay, bye.